Ancient Indian philosophy presents a persistent tension between two distinct paths. One is the worldly demand of social duty and obligation, karma yoga. The other is the path of renunciation and self-realization, jnana yoga. It is the contrast between the warrior in the heat of battle and the physical stillness of an ascetic in meditation. The Bhagavad Gita acts as the structural pivot between these two extremes. Chapter 4 attempts to dissolve the dichotomy between active life and spiritual realization. The text argues that true renunciation is an internal cognitive state. It exists in perceiving work differently, rather than physically abandoning it. This introduces the central paradox found in verse 4.18, seeing inaction in action and action in inaction. Resolving this paradox provides a framework for performing mandatory obligations while remaining free from the psychological and karmic debt that typically follows human effort. The dialogue begins with Arjuna's doubt. When Krishna claims he taught the science to the sun god at the dawn of time, Arjuna is confused. He raises a baseline epistemological question. How could a contemporary warrior have instructed a being who lived eons earlier? Krishna's response establishes the distinction between the conditioned soul, or jiva, and the supreme being, Ishvara. While both pass through countless births, the mortal soul is compelled into embodiment by past karma and loses its memory. The divine manifests by sovereign choice, retaining complete omniscience across all cosmic epochs. This ontological difference is the prerequisite for understanding how inaction operates. It shows that the divine can participate in the material realm without being constrained by the laws of karmic causation. For the conditioned soul, karmic causation creates a feedback loop. Every action driven by desire generates an impression binding the individual to the cycle of rebirth. Krishna manifests age after age to restore righteousness. Unlike souls caught in karma's cyclical loop, the divine enters the material realm through sovereign potency. This is the immutable non-doer. The divine creates and manages the cosmos, but remains unattached to outcomes, generating zero karmic entanglement. Because divine activity is executed without egoic attachment, it generates zero karmic bondage. This model of the unattached non-doer provides a framework for leadership. By emulating this internal detachment, a leader can execute decisions objectively, maintaining systemic justice, without the personal ego agency that leads to moral compromise or burnout. The text moves from divine ontology to social governance, stating that the Supreme responds to all seekers in accordance with the intent of their surrender. To facilitate this, the divine structured human society through a functional system called Chaturvarnya. This matrix classifies society into 4 divisions based on psychological modes: purity, passion, and inertia. It aligns natural quality, or guna, with professional responsibilities, or karma. The classification is strictly aptitudinal. Krishna rejects hereditary birthright, or jati, establishing a system based entirely on character and capacity. When social roles align with natural psychological affinities, society achieves harmony. Every duty, when performed as a sacrifice, becomes a valid path to spiritual liberation. Transitioning to the individual, the text admits that discerning the nature of action is complex, confusing even the most insightful human minds. Activity falls into 3 domains. Vikarma is prohibited action, causing suffering. Karma represents prescribed duties, yielding consequences when performed with personal desire. The binding agent is desire. The third tier is akarma, inaction. This describes action executed without ego agency or attachment to outcomes. Akarma is not merely physical stillness. It is dynamic activity performed with the continuous awareness of the non-doer self. This resolves the paradox of action in inaction. A body sitting motionless while the mind brews desire is performing intense binding action. But strenuous labor performed with zero personal attachment produces no karmic impressions. Decoupling the ego from physical movement strips away the mechanism of bondage. It allows daily duties to function as a means of self-realization. To operationalize this, the Gita redefines the Vedic concept of yajna, or sacrifice. Traditionally, this referred to external fire ceremonies. Krishna reclassifies yajna as any systematic offering of personal resources or energy into a higher ideal, creating a broad taxonomy of disciplines. This includes sacrificing sensory faculties, regulating the vital breath, and offering material wealth for others. Krishna establishes a hierarchy among these practices, declaring that jnana yajna, the sacrifice of knowledge, is superior to any material offering. While material offerings purify the senses, spiritual knowledge targets the root cause of bondage, dissolving the core illusion of the personal ego. This knowledge cannot be fabricated through intellectual speculation. It must be received through an authentic lineage, or parampara, from a teacher who has realized the truth. The seeker must approach with 3 specific attitudes: reverent humility, sincere inquiry, and self as service. This creates the receptivity required for such subtle truth. Without this clarity, the mind falls into samshaya, or doubt. A doubting mind is paralyzed, finding happiness neither in this world nor the next. This spiritual knowledge functions as a sharp, decisive instrument, cleanly cutting through all the tangled doubts born of ignorance. It acts as a fire that reduces accumulated karmic reactions to ashes, and a boat that carries the seeker across the ocean of material suffering. True spiritual wisdom in the Gita does not lead to passive quietude. It empowers the individual to slash through existential hesitation and perform their righteous battle with clarity and unshakable peace.